This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Scott Howell.
Hello, good neighbors, and welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast, brought to you by the Friends and Neighbors Group of Cleveland and the greater Chattanooga area. Again, my name is Scott Howell, and I'm your host. For all you first-time listeners, the purpose of the Good Neighbor Podcast is to bring awareness to the residents of our communities regarding the locally owned and or operated businesses in Cleveland, Chattanooga, and the surrounding areas. Small local businesses are the backbone of our communities, and they need our support. And joining me today is our good neighbor, Chris Cole at Cleveland IV Hydration. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for being our special guest today on the Good Neighbor Podcast.
Hey, thanks, Scott. I'm really excited to be on your podcast today, and I appreciate the opportunity to get the word out about what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've had, we were discussing before we started recording, we had a few different people that nominated you for this. They were telling me about what a great service you offer. And I don't even know the details yet myself. So I'm really excited about hearing it after hearing all those guys speak well of you like they did. I wanted, before we jumped into the business part, I did want to ask you, would you like to share anything with us about yourself and your family?
Oh, absolutely. I got lots to talk. Buckle in. It's a roller coaster and you jump into the Cole family.
Okay.
But no, so me and my wife, Michelle, we are locally located. We live here in Cleveland, Tennessee. We're part of the community. We go to church over at Westmore, and we have a pretty decent sized family. I've got 3 daughters, Addie, Ari, and Ashlyn. And we also have a foster daughter, Destiny. So I have no shortage of little girls and women in my home. Me and my wife, we've both worked outside of this business in this community, in the general community. I'm a paramedic, still full-time in Hamilton County. And my wife was a teacher for 7 years at Walker Valley High School until we started this business. God blessed us enough that I needed some help, so she was able to jump in on board and really take us to the next level. But yeah, we've been in business in Cleveland, Tennessee here now for 3 years, going into our 3rd year. And we have just been super excited to kind of identify a need that the general area has, for underserved, certain medical conditions and things like that. People that were requiring to have to go to the emergency room or go to their doctor's office or these walk-in clinics. And they may not have the resources or the time to really focus in on a lot of people that have these specific needs for hydration and vitamins and other wellness things that we offer. So when we've kind of put our roots in and put our feet down to the ground, we were welcomed, and we just really like to, express that to the people today, that some of the options we have here, and God's been good to us and blessed us very well.
That's great. Thanks for sharing all that. So let's dive in and talk about what you actually do at Cleveland IV Hydration. You mentioned that some folks, need a little bit more options than they have as far as the emergency room and things like that. So what do you actually do for people?
So the basic nuts and bolts of Cleveland IV Hydration and Wellness Center is we start IVs like you would in a hospital or in a doctor's office or in an ambulance. We give people fluids, normal saline, sodium water. We have a bunch of different options and vitamin concoctions, or some places will refer to them as cocktails. Recipes, so that based on different needs. So if someone has just been working out, I got a lot of blue collar guys that cut lawns and work construction, and in the summertime they get super dehydrated. They just can't drink enough water. We can come in and give them back their vitamins and nutrients and get their fluid intake at a faster and a more efficient rate by going through the vein versus having to do sips of water throughout the day. The majority of people, no matter what your background is, what job you do, or what your health conditions are typically at some point dehydrated to one degree or another. People just don't like to drink water. They don't like to take vitamins and supplements. And what we offer is a really efficient and fast modality so that they can get those things back on track so that they can feel good and prevent a lot of like health issues.
Okay. So when you're talking about the cocktails, as people, call them, the vitamin infusions, I've heard a lot about that lately. One of the things I've been curious about, and I'm so glad you told me you do that, because I've been wanting to ask someone.
Yeah.
So lately there's been a lot of exposure in some people really close to me in my life regarding a deficiency of magnesium. Is that something that can be given through IV?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, the majority of our base recipes have magnesium in it. Our most popular and the most famous, if you go to any IV clinic on the planet, they're going to have a specific cocktail called a Myers cocktail. It's like the Nike drip of the industry. Dr. Myers years ago came up with the concept of being able to put in fluids and vitamins into our body through a vein. And this was roughly based off of what we believe was his original recipe. And it has magnesium, calcium, vitamin C, and your B complex vitamins. And it's kind of like, for all intents and purposes, your multivitamin in a liquid form that goes into your vein. So it covers a lot of the main electrolytes and minerals and vitamins that we typically are deficient in just normally in our day-to-day life. So it's a great platform to start off with.
So Chris, is it more beneficial to the recipient to get these vitamins by liquid IV than it is to just take a capsule or a tablet?
Yeah. So, when we kind of go down that pathway and kind of talking about absorption and time and things like that, there's different ways your body absorbs any kind of substance, so when most people are most familiar with taking a vitamin, take a pill, capsule, and it goes through their GI tract into their stomach. Most people don't have a great absorption rate through their GI tract. It's just the way we eat, the way our bodies are conditioned over time. So when we put these things through the vein, it doesn't have to go through the bypassing of your GI tract, and there's a lot of waste in the process that your body uses to break down those vitamins. So that's why a lot of those vitamins, their dosages are really high because there's a built-in factor for how much loss there's going to be during that digestion period. So when we bypass the GI tract by going straight through the vein and going into the blood cells, it goes directly to the cells. There's no time or waste. You get 100% exposure to the cells. Your body takes exactly what it needs so that it's supplemented. And then if there's extra, the majority of the things that we give are water soluble. So your body just excretes it out through the kidneys. So you don't have a big worry about, vitamin toxicity or overload. And then we also like to work with our clients and their physicians and look at their lab work to make sure that, hey, your vitamin D level or your vitamin C levels aren't too high. And we can always adjust and do that if we have that data. We don't provide that data here. We just work with you and your primary care physician. We love to do that to make sure that we're totally customizing these things to best benefit you.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense because, I read the story. I don't know if you probably in the industry, you've heard of it too, but I read the story one time about a guy that owned excuse me for being crude, but it is what it is, right? He owned a porta potty business. And he said that was the number one thing besides body waste, obviously, that he would find when they would go to clean those out were capsules that never broke down.
Yep.
He said it was the number one thing they would find in there, when they cleaned it out. And I thought that was amazing, because you take a capsule, you think, oh, this is, it's going to work, that's what it's for. Put it in my body and I get the benefit. But according to him, a lot of that just went right through people's body and they never got any benefit at all from it, So it's really interesting that you you explain it that way, the absorption rate and everything. So, as cheap as you can get capsules and vitamins, it don't mean it's the best investment long term.
Yeah, and also people when they, I'm not telling people not to take oral vitamins, but do your research and find out where these people or these companies are sourcing it. Find out what the concentration of these things are. When it comes to FDA approval, to these things, it's very, very little guidelines really go into place in the supplement world. It just has to be 0.00% better than nothing at all to be considered effective by the FDA. So just, so when it comes to supplements, there's thousands and thousands of, options. It can be confusing. You feel like you have a master's degree to do this stuff, to learn what it is. But the trend now in the healthcare and the wellness community is not so much to supplement, but really to supplement what your deficiencies are. So there's companies and there's services, and we offer them here as well, where we can actually test your blood and actually find out what your body is deficient in, and then hyper focus on that, so that we're not just throwing a blanket out of supplements and running your bills up and making it expensive, and we can make it more efficient and cost effective for you.
Well, now you've really piqued my interest, Chris, because that is something that I've wanted to have done for a long time and didn't know where to go to have it done. When I go to see my general practitioner, I ask him, but they're limited as to what the lab company will allow them to order. They're limited. So they tell me, well, I said, I want to in-depth. I want to know every, my vitamin and mineral in my body, so I can see if I'm deficient on anything and I can know what to supplement. But they seem to be very limited in what they can actually even order for me.
Yeah, your primary care doctors are typically going to have a kind of a guideline, and I've run into this as well. And I've had to go to third-party labs and do things. I've done like genetic testing on myself just to see if, like, for instance, I can absorb folate or B12 appropriately. And I did find that you're looking at a mutant here. I did have 2 mutations of certain genomes that my body just can't absorb typical supplements like B12 without it being methylated. That's a whole nother thing. You probably got another podcast I could talk about that whole situation. But long story short is I just had to switch my vitamins to a methylated vitamin. And by doing that, I didn't spend any more money on them. They're the same cost. It's just they're produced a different way. And now I absorb my vitamins that I take orally and much better. And I feel so much better.
Wow.
Typically you have to go to like a naturopath type doctor or clinician they're able to do those lab works and stuff like that. But we're working on programs here that you can come in and we can do a simple like prick of the finger, get some blood work, send it off, and we'll come back and they'll send you a whole panel and show everything that you're deficient in. And then even it's amazing what they can do. And then they can consult with you and line you up with what you need to fix your deficiencies.
Okay. Well, this is super interesting. I had no idea when I saw, Cleveland IV hydration, I was going to be talking to you about things that I already had questions about myself personally and interest in myself because, I'm in a little bit later chapter of life than you are, Chris. And I can see that there's a lot of things that my body's starting to do that or not do. Maybe it's a better way of saying it, that it used to do well. And I'm thinking, I'm having more allergies. I didn't used to have allergies. Now I'm having allergies. I'm having things happen. And I'm thinking, okay, obviously I'm deficient in something that I didn't used to be. Obviously there's something going on, but how do I find out? So it's great to know. So you have a capability of doing somewhat of some test, but even if you don't know, maybe you don't have the capability of doing everything I need, you can refer me to somebody that can.
Absolutely. Over the last 3 years, we've had the blessing to start working with a lot of local physicians. And be honest with you, we learn a lot of stuff from our clients. We have very well-informed clients that come in and they'll say, "Hey, have you ever heard of this?" And I'll go, "I don't know about that," and then I'll Google it and I'll do a deep dive. I'm a big nerd when it comes to this stuff. And I learned so much from as much as my clients as I do teaching and counseling some of my clients. And they'll tell me, "This is what I've been doing. This has helped this." And then I can kind of extrapolate that and put it out there. I don't know it all, but I'm willing to learn as much as I can. But yes, if I don't know the answer, between my medical director that we work with and all the other resources we have here in Cleveland and the surrounding areas, we can find you, get you pointed in the right direction.
That sounds awesome. I'm really glad that we met today. I know there were some questions I was going to ask that I may, because we went in so in depth in this, I may not ask a few of them, just little personal questions and things. But I feel like that this is something that I need to know, but also telling how many more people out there that need to know this. Because we've heard of the cocktails, we've heard of the things, different things like that, but didn't know a lot about it. Didn't know why we should do that versus other things that are available to us. So didn't know where to go to find out what I need. So like you said, instead of just throwing something up against the wall and seeing what sticks, find out what I actually need. And so if I go and to have one of these tests done and I find out I'm deficient in this certain thing, that there's some way of intravenously getting that vitamin in my veins. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Typically, most anything, there's a way of doing that.
Yeah. So there are some limitations to what we do as far as what type of vitamins and but we will be able to look at that, and what we can't give you through an IV, there's an oral supplement. There is a treatment path in that thing. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is that we're very honest and open about what we can and especially what we can't do. That's where you would get in trouble with a lot of people. Yeah. Is trying to overextend and do things that you're not. It's not in your wheelhouse. I'm not a greedy guy. I'm not going to try and figure out a way to fix every one of these problems. I have a very specific thing that I can do, which helps a lot of people. And I have no problem saying, "Hey, let's go talk to this person. Let's send you over here. They have a better way that they can treat this," and go from there. And I'm always about building my network of providers and things like that. But the biggest thing that we want to do is kind of change the mindset of how people even come to know this information, and not so much because as a paramedic, and a lot of people in the medical, care, whether it's emergency medicine, hospital stuff, we always seem to find people at their worst moment, and we're doing reactive medicine. Yeah. Our goal here at Cleveland IV Hydration and Wellness Center is to teach people to be proactive in their health. Let's start, like you said, let's do some prophylactic treatments and or testing. Find what our problems are. Start treating them now before we start having chest pain or having difficulty breathing or these different things. And let's be proactive in it and aggressively hit it while we can. That way we can prevent a lot of the stuff that comes down the line.
I completely agree, because back in 2020, the COVID hit, right? And towards the end of the year, I got it, and it was pretty bad. They said the only reason they didn't hospitalize me is because my blood oxygen level stayed in the low 90s. That's the only reason they didn't hospitalize me. But I had double pneumonia. I felt like I was dying. I mean, just. And I've had pneumonia multiple times in my life, but nothing was like that. Yeah. Nothing I ever had was like that. And then, so that next year I thought, here I am, I'm in my 50s now. I need to go, find out, I just need to go have some checkups done, because my family history, I had some heart issues and circulation issues. And I thought, I'll just go have this done, see if anything's sneaking up on me. I went and had it all done. Everything looked good, they told me. I had my cardiac evaluation done in May, and July I had a heart attack. And I was like, after that happened, it opened my eyes to the fact that I need to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was trying to do. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do when I was having all these evaluations. I never had heart trouble before. I just wanted to make sure, so yeah, I 100% agree with you, what you're saying. I think that's wise advice.
Speaking on like the COVID thing, we started our business in the beginning of COVID. We went against a lot of advice. Don't start a business during a pandemic. Don't do this. And kind of what our ideal client looked like was not what we jumped into. We jumped right into a pandemic. And the blessing was that, from what we were doing in the hospital systems and in emergency medicine to treat COVID, we were able to take those, because my medical director is an ER physician and works in that realm. We took those same protocols and those same treatment plans and adapted them to what we could do here and brought that straight to the community, with fast access, so that we were treating people with high dose vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc and things like that, and consistent hydration. And we were able to help a ton of people recover quicker, people that had the long COVID. So they got over the infectious period, but for 6 months afterwards, they just were fatigued, headaches. Their body was not the same after that. We were able to help a ton of people get back to their baseline by just consistently giving their body what it needed to recover, which was a blessing. And where a lot of businesses went under and failed, just different areas, we thrived because we had a solution for people that were really helping people. And I think that's what kind of solidified and gave us credibility in the community, because 95% of our stuff is word of mouth. And it's always like, hey, my friend came here. They felt like they were dying. They felt terrible. You guys helped them out. And it's always great to hear stuff like that. We get our business and we do that is because we kind of came in when Cleveland really needed some a different hand of help, and thank God we were able to do that for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, I know people if they're like me, they're dying to know right now, how do I get a hold of these people? How do I find out more information? So would you share, whether online or offline, how people can either research you a little bit or just contact you directly?
Sure. And one thing I just wanted to add to that was, not all our clients are sick when they come in here. Again, a lot of our clients come in and they're healthy, but they want to stay that way. And that is something that I just really want to be really kind of crush into everybody's mind is that proactive approach. If you don't want to get sick, let us help you stay that way. If you are sick, that's okay. Let's get you back on your feet. And that's just really where our heart is. But as far as getting a hold of us, we're all over the place. So you can always look us up online at clevelandivhydration.com. That'll bring up our menu, a little bit about us. We got a great frequently asked questions panel in there. So if you spend a little time on our website, it'll probably answer most of your questions. It'll have our full menu up there with very transparent prices. That's another thing that we really pride ourselves here is that there's no bait and switch. When you come in expecting to pay something, that's pretty much what you're going to pay. It has information about our memberships for people that want to come more frequently and save some money. We have programs for that. They can reach us by phone at 423-478-6488. You can always pop in. We're right in the middle of Cleveland. We're at 4009 Keith Street. At the intersection of Mouse Creek and Keith, right next to the Bradley Urgent Care, close to Chick-fil-A. we're right in the pocket here, so you can always come in and check us out. We're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. We do typically take our last drips around 4 o'clock, so we can have everybody in and out at a reasonable time. But we're out here. We're available, and we love to answer questions. So your listeners can always call in. They can they can send us a message through the website. We're available, and we love to answer questions and educate people on what they can do to come see us.
Well, Chris, it was a pleasure meeting you today, and so glad to find out more about what you offer. And now I see why you had all these business nominations. People are appreciating what you do in the community, and thanks to your wife as well. I know she's not on the podcast with you, but it sounds like she's a big part of what you do. So thanks to her as well.
She is definitely the backbone of this business. I do the smallest amount of it. I do IVs, and we do have other nurses as well that work here. Yeah. It's not just us. Melissa and Kendall are awesome, and they're very good at what they do. I will tell you this, and this is something that we could just we get one of the big things that we have to overcome here is a lot of times people in their past have had bad experiences with IVs, whether they had to get poked a bunch of times and it was painful, whatever it is. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is, one, we only hire people with big experience with IVs. So just because someone's a nurse or just someone's a paramedic, they don't just come in based on license alone. They're vetted. I run them through a ringer and make sure that they can start IVs and they can start IVs well. And then we just let people know that we take our time with them. You're not going to feel rushed here. You're going to be heard. We're going to listen to your whole story, and we're going to make sure that whatever we pick out for you is going to be exactly what your body needs at the time. And when it comes down to the part where most people are scared with the IV, we're going to make sure you're comfortable, and we're going to try our best to get it is in the most pain-free possible way. And most people, I'd say 9 times out of 10, when they come in and they're afraid, they leave and they realize that it didn't have to be that way. And we pride ourselves in that.
Thanks for taking the time explaining that. I know there were some of the things I was planning on asking. That was one of them, maybe myths and misconceptions people have. And so thank you for stopping me and explaining that, because I know that's important to a lot of people out there who have had those bad experiences, so yeah, definitely. So I appreciate you, man. So nice to meet you. What's your wife's name?
Her name is Michelle.
Michelle, Melissa, Kendall, thank y'all for what you do. We appreciate y'all. And Chris, thank you. And let us know if we can ever do anything to help serve you and continue spreading the message.
Well, I think what you're doing is great, and helping small businesses get the name out there, and kind of promoting on the scale that you do. And that means a lot to all of us, so thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you for the shout out there, Chris. I appreciate it. And to all the good neighbors of Cleveland and the Chattanooga area, after meeting Chris and learning more about Cleveland IV hydration, I know he hopes that you'll take a moment to consider all they have to offer, and remember them. When you need or want the product and service they provide, but just for a moment, take a minute to think about yourself. Think about how you feel. I want to cover two quick points that he covered. If you already feel bad and you feel like nothing you're doing seems to help, then give them a shout. Go see them, see if they have anything that can help you. Let them help you with the panel he was talking about, where they check out, maybe your needs and see what's going on with it. But if you're getting it to that age, like I was, where maybe you're kind of worried, I feel pretty good right now, but I don't want any surprises. Think about it from that term too. Don't just wait until something happens. Wait until you feel bad. I mean, that doesn't matter what age you are. You can always take care of yourself. There's a lot of people out there that are really big in the fitness industry. They've always taken some type of a supplement of some kind. Consider this when you're thinking about the needs that your body has to try to stay healthy and strong. Remember this service. And of course, before ending this episode, I'd like to thank you, all the listeners, for taking the time out of your busy day to visit with us at the Good Neighbor Podcast. And always remember, again, to support the locally owned and or operated businesses in Cleveland, Dalton, the greater Chattanooga area, all the little communities around the greater Chattanooga area. Wish I could mention you all by name because you're all important. But let's just try to support one another. And, this is Scott Howell with the Friends and Neighbors Group. Let's everyone go out and make this a remarkable day.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpcleveland.com. That's gnpcleveland.com or call 423-380-1984.